Where's
Well, I
the
think-
so-called sovereign
Yeah.
over the Parliament?
Did the Queen?
Here's
Queen
what
she left the country. Didn't she? She basically years ago.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. That's what I was going to get to. In 1970, after they agreed to the decolonisation process, in 1973, the Queen allowed herself to be written out of the Royal Titles and Styles, the Royal Styles and Titles Act. She also allowed and facilitated her heirs and successors being removed, which means at this point in time, we have no Queen of the Parliament of the United Kingdom over the Commonwealth of Australia, and we have no heirs and successors that can succeed her to the throne. What we do have, though, is this person who is the Queen of the Parliament of the Kingdom fraudulently purporting to be the Queen of Australia. Now, if she's the Queen of Australia, she's committed high treason against the people of England, because under the Act of Settlement 1701, she can only be the Queen of one realm. And this is no longer one of her realms. She's been removed. Okay? Now, the Queen of Australia doesn't exist at law. If the Queen of Australia doesn't exist at law, then by whose authority are the Parliament sitting? But forget all that, because that's nothing. That there is nothing. This is the big one. When she was removed in 1973, any claim that she thought she might have had to sovereignty over this continent went with her. Now, given that she removed herself and her claim to sovereignty, or rather her Parliament's claim to sovereignty, which can be easily disproven, how is it that the parliaments of this country are now claiming parliamentary sovereignty? Where did they get their sovereignty from? Where is the instrument whereby sovereignty was transferred from us to the British monarchs, and from the British monarchs to the Australian monarch, called the Queen of Australia? Where is that? Where is that chain of command? Where is that link? There is none. And how do parliamentarians obtain a species of sovereignty that isn't even recognised as existing? How is it that they can claim sovereignty when, in fact, it's proven that the Queen they are claiming it from never had it to start with? Because they never took sovereignty here.
So it's basically like we have the military,
Sorry?
we have the police, we have the infrastructure, so we're just going to say that we're sovereign.
Yeah.
Who's going to challenge us? I think that's a situation like that.
Yep. Right. Well, I'm challenging, okay? And I'm challenging on the basis of this. The British never took sovereignty here. That's clearly established by their own records and by the parliamentary records here, okay? They never took sovereignty. They can't claim they did. So when the Queen left, she took nothing with her because she had nothing to take, okay? What she has to do, though, is return all the natural wealth that's been stolen under her and her predecessors' claims. But anyway, apart from that, the parliament, the corporate parliament that was left in place under the kangaroo and emu coat of arms was left in place as an interim, as a belligerent interim administrative arm for the sole purposes of transition of governance back to the legitimate sovereigns. Now, under the law of the belligerent occupier, which the Queen and the Parliaments of Australia are bound to, that is the process. If you have a look at the US Department of Defence Rule of Law as accepted and promulgated by the Judge Advocate General on the 15th of May 2016, that has been agreed to be played by. Now, those rules are very interesting. They didn't change anything. All they did was update and re-promulgated the document. And it states very clearly, as does the law of the belligerent occupier, that the Queen was acting in the capacity of nothing more than a belligerent occupier. Under those rules, the minute we stand up and say, listen, we're here, we're standing back up as legitimate sovereigns, they must back out. Well, that's what she's done. She's backed out. We have given notice to the corporate interim administration that the time has come for them to pack their bags and go. Now, we're not saying, this is not Rhodesia, we're not saying all your white fellas have to go. That's not what's being said. But what is being said is this. Hand over. The time's come. Your gig has been exposed. And it's been exposed right down to this. In 1973, they thought, and by they I mean the parliamentarians and the scum in the Liberal and Labor parties, thought that they were, and the national parties, thought that they were going to be able to pull the wool over the Australian people's eyes And they were going to claim this parliamentary sovereignty, and that was going to be the end of it because we're all too dumb. We're just dipshits. We don't understand anything. Okay? And their plan was this. They were going to convert Australia to a republic whereby they would take administration forever and a day over the slaves, effectively. But what happened was this. Their referendums to gain a republic fell on deaf ears with Australians, and we did not vote. The Australian people did not vote for republics. So we stand at this precipice. This is where we're at today. We are standing on the edge of a cliff. And from my understanding from the people I'm talking to, the Queen is already dead. And if you have a look at the body double that's currently doing the work for her, she has a longer face. She's about 15 years younger, and she's not quite the same height.
You're saying she's already passed away.
Just have a good look. Have a good look the next time you see the Queen. Go back through some old pictures of her. Okay?
All right, now, let's get on to that.
When the Queen dies, this is what, and assume for the sake of that comment I'm a nutter and she's still alive. I'm happy to accept that she's still alive, okay, because I'd love to prosecute the old mole. But anyway, when she does die, the problem they've got is this. There is no monarch to succeed her to the throne as the Queen of Australia. And there are no heirs and successors because they removed her heirs and successors. So what's going to happen to Australia? I'll tell you what their plan was. 26, 27 years ago, Brad Hazard, John Howard, and a bunch of them got together. And they sat down, they put a plan together whereby they decided that if the Queen died before they could get their referendum up to become a republic and forever hide their fraud, that they would bring in an issue of public order and safety, and they would close the borders, and they would then get us used to having the borders there. They would then get us used to having to present documents to cross the border, like even at the Queensland border now. Oh, the border's open, but you're still got to present your documents. Yeah? They will not let that go now. But the reason they've done this is because their plan is very clearly to, and this is what's written in the document, to divide Australia into 7 separate sovereign cantons.
Right.
And dissolve the Commonwealth.
Right.
Yeah? Now, the dictator Dan, the reason the dictator Dan is hanging on for grim life is because dictator Dan wants to be exactly that. He wants to be the dictator over the realm of Victoria.
So essentially what we're talking about is almost like we're breaking these up almost into their own countries to a degree. So what exactly is a canton?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The canton is the sovereign state.
Right. Gotcha. Just sovereign state. Yeah. So why wouldn't they why would they want passports between all these different states? What's the point of that?
No, because the Chinese, Dan Andrews believes that he's got away with the deal he did with the Chinese whereby they own Victoria. And they're going to be owned, like America believes that they own New South Wales. This is fact, okay? And call me a nutter. I'm happy, call me whatever you want. I'm happy to just sit here and watch it unravel in front of everybody. Simple as that, you know? And you've got people like this Josephine Cashman, who's busy working with people like Ben Parker to try and defame and slander me and ridicule me because she knows that what I'm saying is correct. She's doing nothing but running interference for her Liberal Party masters. And you've only got to watch her videos, mate. Seriously, I doubt she's got an IQ over 65, which is why she is where she is. And they're using her.
Well, seems to be there's quite possible idiots in always has been.
Yeah, I had a very good friend. I had a very good friend. He wasn't the most likable sort of character, but he always treated me with respect, and I treated him with respect, and we became friends because of the business we did. He had a sign manufacturing business, and I used to use him to manufacture the decals for aircraft I used to paint. Anyway, shortly before his death, he gave me 4 filing cabinets with 4 drawers each. Now, this guy was the guy who was one of the regional presidents of the Liberal Party. He was the guy who introduced John Howard to the Liberal Party. He used to be the mayor of Concord in Sydney. He used to own a company called Viacom. Okay?
Viacom, yeah.
He gave me these files, and these filing drawers contain an alphabetised bunch of files, and each is a file on each member of the Liberal Party.
Right.
Okay.
I wonder what's in those files.
Now, one of those documents, and he gave it to me when he was still alive, was their plan to divide Australia back into the 7 sovereign states. Because they knew if they did not get their republic up before the Queen died, that they were in dire straits. And I would ask anybody who's listening to this video, or watching this video, think about me, but just think about this for a second. Given that they've removed the Queen, given they've removed her heirs and successors, what's going to happen to your precious Commonwealth when the Queen dies and no one can replace her? Think about that. Get back to me. Tell me I'm a nutter. Because the Queen of Australia has no heirs and successors.
For people who do want to contact you guys, whereabouts would they want to do that? Should they send a message to Facebook?
They can go to the OSTF website.
Yep.
There's OSTF Facebook. But make sure when you go to the OSTF Facebook, you do not go to the one that's got about 2,000 or 3,000 members, because that's been run by a bunch of lunatics that hijacked the Facebook webpage. They do not represent the OSTF. And they have nothing to do with us. We're not associated with them at all.
Interesting. Thank you.
Just go to the OSTF.
You've been more than generous with your time, and you've given so much fantastic information.
That's right.
I want to ask one last question.
Mate, we've only scratched the surface.
I'm sure there's at least 30, 40 hours worth of great information to get out there. But I did have one quick question. The OSTF, what is your vision for a future Australia?
My vision for a future Australia is this. We all get along. We all understand that we are all human beings, but we all admit to all of the truth, and we all accept all of the truth. Now, I know that's going to be hard for some people, because we've got a bunch of redneck people out there who believe that, the Queen is the Queen and the Union Jack is our flag and the corner of our flag and all the rest of it. But I wonder how many of these people realise the Union Jack is actually 3 Hebrew flags laid one over the top of the other. Why do you think it's called the Union of Jacob? Okay, or the Union Jack? I wonder if they know that the Queen is the 144th generation from King David of the Bible. I wonder if they know that the throne that she was supposed to sit on when she was crowned was actually the throne that King David sat on. It was the same stone. It's a 448-pound in weight piece of Bethel palfrey, which was stolen from Westminster Abbey on Christmas Eve 1950 and replaced with the Stone of Destiny, which is a 336-pound piece of Bethel palfrey. Now, when they conducted the coronation ceremony and crowned her, the ceremony was invalid because the proper instruments were not used. For example, she did not sit on the throne. I can go on for days. There are so many holes in their bullshit story, it's not funny. But at the end of the day, you can go and check yourself. There's records where her father told her that she was going to be the last monarch of the United Kingdom, because he knows the history, which is another talk. Anybody who knows the story of Zara and Phares in the Bible, and how Ulster got the flag with the hand with a red string around it, and the story of Jeremiah the prophet, and Teatifi, the daughter of King Zedekiah in the Bible, going across to Ulster where she married a Qaeda. They took down a Destiny with them. That's how it turned up in Europe. From there it went to Scotland with King Fergus the Great, and then King James I took them from Edinburgh in Scotland down to London, to Westminster. They are the 3 turnings of the throne, which preempt the coming of Christ, second coming of Christ, if you believe what's written in the book. When I studied the Aramaic, Greek and Hebrew text of the Bible for about 17 years, that's where they get all of their law from. That's where they get all of their claims to being better than everybody else from. There's so much. We can do this again. Maybe one time we can spend a bit of time talking about how the 13th tribe of Israel, Manasseh, went to the Isles of the West, and the people that left on the pilgrims that left on the Mayflower and the other boats to go to the United States to set up the United States were all, about 90% of them were members or descendants of the tribe of Manasseh, the 13th tribe of Israel, which is why when you look at the president's seal, it has 13 olive berries, 13 olive branches, 13 stars, 13 arrows, 13
So this is
stripes,
right. Okay.
blah, 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 and the inscriptions are straight out of the Bible. People have no idea of this history, mate, and they're talking shit through their ass, thinking they know what's really going on this planet. You have to have a look at everything that has happened historically and where it comes from and what it relates to and who it relates to before you get the full picture. And I know people think I'm a nutter and they can think what they want, but I can back everything I've set up with facts. It's historic fact.
I think as people learn more and they gain more information, people who used to seem quite nuts to them suddenly sound cutting edge or very like they understand what they're saying now. It just takes people time to learn these things to get a picture.
And here's one for you. This is how deceptive they are. I bet every time you've seen a picture of Arthur Phillip putting the stick in the ground with the flag on it in Sydney, it's the Union Jack on the flag, is the flag, yeah? Do you know when the Union Jack was created?
I'm going to take a guess at it, if that's okay. Around 1836. Am I getting close?
1801. 1801, 13 years after the event.
Right.
13 years after the event. Well, and they claim that, it wasn't the Union Jack, it was the Queen Anne and Scotland flag they put on the ground. It's like they say Captain Cook set foot on Possession Island. No, he didn't. He went to go ashore on Possession Island, was met on the shore by a bunch of blackfellas with spears and whatnot, and they wrapped a cannonball in a flag and threw it ashore. It's in his diary. They have misconstrued every part of their history to try and make themselves to be something they're not. Well, I guess the last thing they expected was some numbers to come along and undo it all.
I was trying to get to my question, I suppose, is let's say that we do prove that the Australian government is illegitimate and they dissolve and the original sovereigns, they take back the parliament. I guess people are afraid that if that happens and the whole system is disrupted, what's going to happen to the economy? What's going to happen to our fuel diesel?
Okay. No.
1st of January.
Long way off.
1st of January. Yep.
All right, 1st of January.
Yep.
Let's say midnight 1st of January on the stroke of New Year's Eve. On this side of New Year's Eve, the second before New Year's Eve, the Queen disappears, the Governor General disappears, and the upper house disappears federally. Okay? Then after midnight, what we have in place is a pre-elected Senate. That Senate is elected from the law people and elders of the various tribes around the continent. From that Senate, we elect a man and a woman to be joint heads of state, depending on what business is being conducted, whether they do it jointly or separately, men or women's business or joint business. There is no disruption to any business whatsoever. There is no disruption to the economy. There is no disruption to anything. But what we do have is we instantly have the true sovereigns sitting over our federal parliament. Then what we do is the first point of business is on the 1st of January, we pass a law that says that anybody who interferes with someone else's political liberty by manipulating the vote in the lower house is guilty of a crime of interfering with someone else's political liberty, and the penalty is raised from 3 to 5, 7 or 10 years, depending on the nature of the outcome of the collusion to interfere with someone else's political liberty. Okay? And then what we do is, on the second thing we do is we make illegal all political parties, so that anybody who wishes to rise up to the position of a member of the House of Representatives is doing so off their own back, as a representative voice of their own people, their own community in the federal parliament.
Right. So instead of having career politicians, so instead of having career politicians who are basically up there to get the good contracts and to make a good wage and benefit themselves, you instead got people going up there from their communities just because they need their voice heard for that community, and that's it.
Well, people will be putting themselves up to be elected to the House of Representatives on the basis of the fact they want to represent their constituents, not because they want to put themselves in a position where they might be able to wrangle something for themselves. Okay? That mentality of politician has to be removed from the parliament. This way we can install the proper sovereign Okay, so the Senate becomes the sovereign over the whole of the nation through the federal parliament. We do the same state level at the state elections, and the lower houses are the representative houses for the people. Now, I don't see anything wrong with that. If Australians are happy to acknowledge that some stupid old bag sitting over in London is their sovereign, I don't see why they wouldn't be happy to have their sovereigns walking amongst them.
Mm.
The only thing that would preclude that honourable acceptance of that honourable position would be a dishonourable form of racism of some sort, I would suggest.
Well, I guess it's
really very simple.
Conclusion. Hmm.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that would make those people sitting in that federal parliament any better than anybody else in the street. But as the sovereigns, and given that this still is our domain, this is our terrain, why shouldn't we have the final say? We're not going to do anything to anybody that is out of whack. We're not going to be doing, we've been through this. We know what it's like to be persecuted. It's not the intention to persecute, but we fucking will be protecting our sacred sites.
Mm.
And we will be arresting and charging people that interfere with those sites. And we will be forcing people to make recompense for what they've done. Mm. That maggot over in Western Australia that blew up that 46,000-year-old museum, he's going to lose everything. When this does roll over, he will lose everything because he did that willfully.
Why
he did that knowing that site was there. Eh?
Why would he do that, though?
Well, mate, have a look at Western Australia. Have a look at Gina Reinhardt. Have you seen the footage of her husband and her father, what he said about black holes and how they should exterminate us by sterilising us and poisoning the water holes? Why else do you think they do it, mate? They're bigoted, racist motherfuckers.
Right.
Simple as that. It's as simple as that. But this is the easiest and fairest way forward for all.
Mm.
Okay? If our Senate can be a sovereign Senate over the Parliament, and the Parliament is a collection of individual, independent representatives of their own community and not political parties. Because bearing in mind, someone says, oh, look, I'm a Liberal Party member and I'm going to work for you. No, you're not. You're a Liberal Party member. You're going to work for the Liberal Party, and the Liberal Party is going to do what they're told by the guys who are donating the money to them. Mm. Okay? It's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
And the other thing we have to get out of Parliament, we must get out of Parliament all these nut job religious fruitcakes, like what have we got, 11 ministers that all belong to the Hillsong Church?
Mm.
Seriously? The Prime Minister down?
Yeah.
That has to stop.
It's a special club.
That has to stop. And the Hillsong Church needs to be disbanded and driven into the ground for what they do.
I think, end of the day, any power structure can become inevitably corrupted if there isn't built into the system a mechanism of holding power to account. Always holding power to account. They have geared things very nicely so that they're not really being held to account anymore. And so we do need a change.
Well, people need to wake up to the fact. What do they think? What do you think they call themselves? Administration.
Why is that?
Pretty simple. Well, because they're administrators. They are just an administration. The whole purpose of the Australian government was to position government from this current government under the current coat of arms. They were to transition governance back from the belligerent occupier, being the United Kingdom and its monarch, back to the legitimate sovereigns. That's what they were there for. But they decided that they would steal the parliament.
Adam, you're blowing my mind, mate. You're blowing my mind. I never even think about these things until it's pointed out to you.
No one ever does, and that's why they're. I was going to say something else, but I'll put it this way: that's why they're piggybacking us, and we're piggybacking them. Yeah, that's why they're doing it to us, because forex, football, motorsport. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And where's everybody on the weekends? Yeah.
They're getting.
Where's everybody on Friday night, yeah, sitting there drinking piss, watching the football. Don't worry, I don't mind a run myself. I like watching a good game of football, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't let that interfere with my intellect. I don't let it interfere with my ability to see what's going on. And that's what they've counted on. They have counted on us being trusting. And all the while, over the last century, these scum have just worked themselves. Mate, it's like if you put anything on the boil, from water to gold, the shit will float to the top.
That's true.
The dross will float to the top. Well, it is now time to wipe the dross off, and just wipe it sideways off out at the top of the bowl.
But we're at a point now. We're at a point now where they're forcing people to get vaccinated with an untested mRNA vaccine, which is basically doesn't have the safety trials.
Well, it's not a vaccine.
Stuff that's come out is showing that people are dying from this thing, and they're really pushing that across all people, and people are dying. And now they're shutting down our borders and they're taking away our rights. They have gone beyond their capacity of tolerance from the people, I think. It's time to make a change.
Anybody who goes and gets a jab and puts that in their body without thinking about it deserves wherever it comes, in my opinion. I tried, like many other people, to wake people up, but you know it's very difficult. And at the end of the day, when you've got someone who is pretending to be something they're not, and you are exposing them for what they are, and people will not even look at the facts, then so be it for them. Why are people believing Bill Gates? That maggot can't even keep a virus off a computer, let alone out of a human body.
Well, the meme is he went from creating viruses on computers, found out that they would make a lot of money selling antivirus software, and then the natural transition was into the medical field because he can do exactly the same thing.
Yep. But what are his qualifications in the medical field? I'm not aware he has any. No. You know, the time's come that the people have to wake up. You know, I'm not the most astute person on the planet. I'm always getting berated because I don't see things the way people see things, and I understand my brain works differently to others. But at the end of the day, surely people can see everywhere on the planet that there's been an increase in the uptake of vaccines. There's been an increase in the downput of people. You know, everywhere they have a vaccine rate increase, you have a corresponding, slightly delayed increase in the number of deaths and infections from the disease. You know, it doesn't.
We're allowed to say that. But we're not allowed to say
that.
Yeah, we can't say true statistics. It's not allowed. We can't say medical facts anymore. It's not allowed. We can only say what.
I don't care what.
I always get censored and blocked.
I'll say what I want to say. And the fact is that Fauci and Gates are mass murderers of the highest order, like a pair of Mengele twins. Yeah?
Yeah.
Fauci is just a pure piece of shit. And Gates is an absolute moron. If they think they're going to get away with this, mate, you cannot push this on to too many people. And none people will take it. We've been fortunate that we've been able to slow down their plan long enough for people to see the ramifications of getting the vaccine. People are living long enough to see it. They thought that everyone was just going to race out and get it. That backfired on them.
Yeah, luckily now slow rollout as well. Well, they called it slow rollout, but people are saying no.
Yeah, look, I can't. I won't be getting a vaccine, mate. You know, I will never allow them to vaccinate me with that shit. It's not going to.
Well, I'm glad you're in a position where you can say no. Many people seem to be in a financial position where they have their entire careers and their jobs held on the line, their mortgage,
mate,
over their head.
Mate,
they're forced to do it.
I'm living on the bones of my arse as it is. I'm not wealthy. I'm involved in a couple of projects which are projects that will return benefits to communities, and people think that I'm in it for myself, and I'm not, which is the ironic thing. It's like this project that you spoke of earlier, the Nightcap project. It returns to the community. The whole thing that we're doing here is returning to community. Yes, we've got this land and we're selling some of it. We're selling that so that we can afford to build houses over here for the mob because the government won't build them. You know what I mean? And the land that we've acquired in that project has got a lot of sacred sites on it, and it's to protect those sacred sites. It's not for me. It's not for me. And I wish the people that are bagging us on that one would sit down and shut up long enough to see what's going on. But they're too racist to sit down and take the time to view what's actually going on. It's like the same with APLS. We've got people out there saying that we're involved in bringing vaccines into the country. We haven't even started operations yet, let alone bringing vaccines in. And the only product that we'll be producing that has anything to do with anything that might be associated with the vaccine is a product called heparin, which is used to thin the blood, which actually stops the effect of the vaccine. So I don't know what the fuck these people are on about. I just wish they could learn to tell the truth about me. All these people are Ben Parker from Western Australia, Craig Oldroyd from the Northern Territory, Kerry Cashel from Tasmania, who I'm led to believe is actually a federal police agent. All these people that are out there trying to destroy me. Can you at least tell the truth? If you want to destroy me, tell the truth.
Well, let the liars lie, because they eventually catch themselves out in their lies, don't they? So really, they're just hanging themselves.
Well, that's what they've all done. That's what they've all done. I play a very long game, and I have just this week started. I suppose you could call it payback. Okay. And I've got a very long memory, and they can drive me to the poorhouse. They can do whatever they want. Two things they will not erase is my memory and my ability. So I'm coming for you.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Gunham. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. That was a wild ride, I got to say.
Mate, we didn't even cover the iceberg.
You're one of the great few sources in Australia that's actually telling these perspectives to the public, and we commend you for that. Thank you.
Oh, look, mate, on a finishing, and to all the scum out there that are busy trying to take the piss out of me and destroy the OSTF and everything that OSTF is doing. You keep saying I'm doing this for my benefit. I never put myself first on anything. And I had a meeting with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Guy Verney in 2006. It was the 6th of December 2006 in Canberra. And the meeting was set up by Arthur Senator Dennis, who was the last day of his employment with John Howard as Chief of Staff for the Prime Minister. And that was a meeting. They wanted me to, there was a settlement on the table of $15 million. But I wasn't to take the money. I could not settle unless I effectively got amnesia. And I said no. So people want to question my integrity. I'm quite happy for people to question my integrity, but they can do a number of things. One of those things is don't talk shit about me on Facebook and then have me blocked so I can't respond with the truth. Don't go making threats against my family because you may find that what you're threatening will happen to you. And if you want to have a shot at me from the position of my business interests, again, can you please just tell the truth and stop the bullshit lies? I've never been involved in phoenixing any company, which is something that G. Linda has suggested that I am, and Ben Parker and others. I have never been involved in misrepresenting corporate records or documents or I don't have the time for it, mate. I don't, with all the shit I've got going around in my head, I don't have time for the lies and trying to remember them. I'm not interested. My only request to people is if you want to talk about me, talk the truth. Okay? And then if you do say something, give me the opportunity to at least respond, because it may be that your interpretation of what you call the truth isn't accurate given all of the facts. Apart from that, let's take Australia back.
Beautiful. Well said. Absolutely. And
let's do it together. Let's see if all the antagonists have the capacity, the integrity, the testicular fortitude. Let's all work together for the betterment of all of us. Now is the wrong time to be taking the sound of people fighting for freedom. All it does is expose that you are not one of those people fighting for freedom. Let's do it together as a people, mate.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll do what we can, can't we? Because I think that it's about time that we all, as a people, had something to look forward to. Because under this current administration, it keeps getting worse and worse, and there is no reason to really feel proud of anything. Yeah.
Yeah, people ask me, are you proud of being Australian? I said, well, I'm not Australian. If the federal government would like to show where I'd take anything off the Australian people, if I put fuel in my car, I pay excise and tax on. If I buy my food, I pay GST and taxes on the food. I pay freight on the tax, fuel, and da-da-da-da. I pay my way in this society.
Yeah.
When they want to start paying the rent, they sit down and start talking.